Clutter is everything that's come into your house that you haven't really thought about and made that decision about. They're unmade decisions, right?
Clutter is unmade decisions. Absolutely, that is fantastic.
Because if you're stressed, it's likely because you're visually stressed at your home. We know that women's cortisol goes up because it's directly related to how much stuff you see in your house. It's a fact.
And I don't think it's common for people to think about their home and their space as a key element of wellness, which is why we're so excited to talk to you today.
And I'm not a minimalist. I don't believe in getting rid of everything, but I certainly believe that you should be putting yourself first before your stuff. It's almost like taking a shower. You got to shower every couple of days. You don't like get mad every time you have to shower and say, oh man, I have to shower. So same thing with clutter. Like you can't get so mad at it because it's going to show up. You just have to deal with it and then move on, right?
You've said a few real succinct, wonderful little
You guys are
nuggets.
awesome.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like I
love
could go
that.
do anything after talking to you guys. Great questions. I love your
Same. It's so great to have you join us today, Megan. We're so excited to talk. We're so excited to introduce you to our community for those of us that don't know you. And I'd love to just start with a really simple question. Who are you and what do you do?
I'm Megan Golightly, and I started a company called Go Simplified, which way in the beginning, 15 years ago, came out of me doing what I love after getting divorced, after having multiple careers in different things, working for Johnson & Johnson, starting other businesses, working as a broker. What else did I do? I worked in the Cayman Islands. Like I've had all these different careers. And after divorce, I thought I need to do something I love, which was helping people in their homes get organized. And I started with the team and we helped in people's homes. And then 3 years ago, I thought I want to get this message out to more people. So I started Instagram and here we are at almost 600,000 people sharing the message that give yourself some grace. Like likely no one taught you how to let go, and letting go can feel so good. It can be so empowering. And when you shift your mind and take that leap and let go, you enter this realm of living in a house in a way that you didn't think was possible. But you have to take that leap of faith and start to let go, to know not what it feels like to be a minimalist, but know what it feels like to live with less and not have all this stuff to manage screaming at you all the time.
Amazing. I love that part of your mission, and you've touched on it, but I think I saw you've said to make space for what matters most in people's lives. And I love that little fragment. It seems like such an easy way of helping with that mindset shift. And I'd love to just hear you talk a little bit about that idea of letting go so that you can make space for what matters most.
Right. Like, I'm glad you saw that because it's a tagline. We spent a lot of time thinking about what is the most important part of the message that we give or that I give. And it's just that, make room for what matters. And isn't it ironic, really? It's kind of crazy that we have all of this stuff in our houses that we have become almost blind to. Like you don't see it until you pick something up and you look at it and you're present and you say, like, what is this? I don't even, oh, there, I know what it is. It's something to clean my screen. But do I need this? Like, has this earned its right to be in my house? And I'm not a minimalist. I don't believe in getting rid of everything, but I certainly believe that you should be putting yourself first before your stuff, right? Like if I have 10 of these and they're taking up my whole desk space and it's stressing me out, maybe this cost $5. Like what is worth more, me or $5, right? And I think we just don't often stop enough to examine the stuff. We're not even aware sometimes that it's the stuff that's causing us stress. And then we subconsciously pick the stuff over us until you either hit a crisis and you get sick and you're like, enough's enough, or you have a flood or something traumatic. And then you realize, because you're forced to realize, this stuff doesn't matter and it's stressing me out. But it's a trap we get into, all of us, every day. And you have to practice it because we were born hunters and gatherers, and we were born that way. And then we were trained by our parents. Oh, you better keep that. You paid $5 for that. It might come in handy, right? We get trained to want to keep things. So it's a mind shift, but like your mind is blown when you go to the other side and you realize that one, it's a constant fight. Like it's never going to be super easy, but you can make it easier by just trying and practicing.
Wow. And, obviously this is a huge mission. There's a passion there. Like you said, you wanted to do something you're really passionate about. I'd love to know how that came to be your mission.
I have a highly neurodivergent brain. I'm very ADHD, whatever you want to call it. I'm not medicated. I love it and I hate it. And when I started to have kids, when it became more than just me that I had to kind of try to control and corral, I needed lists and I needed systems and I needed methods and I needed the socks to be by the mudroom door so that when we were going out the door, it was quicker, right? Because I found like, otherwise I was yelling at the kids, go get your socks, then go back upstairs and come back down. And then layer in an ADHD family and you're really in hot water because there's nobody really in charge. So I wanted to make my house in charge. Like I wanted to make my house as the grounding point, the tether, so that I didn't have to think as much. So I knew it would involve extra work, but I put some systems in place that made me more efficient and made me a better person. And then I wasn't yelling at my kids and everybody wasn't panicked going out the door. And then, it wasn't like this ripple effect where they were having a bad day at school over socks not being by the door and accessible. So little things that took work, systems that I put in place to make our lives easier. So it certainly came out of ADHD. And I remember once a psychiatrist, when I went and said, like, what's going on with my brain? He's like, wow, you have done an amazing job at compensating for your ADHD in a way that made sense, organizing. And that's your kind. I mean, I tried medications, didn't work, but that's your medication is systems. I'm not saying it's everybody's solution, but it keeps me tethered. And then what else happened is when I got divorced, I moved from a 5,000 square foot house to a 900 square foot house. And I tried to put everything in it. Like I actually thought I was going to be able to do it. And I see people do this all the time of downsizing. Well, we'll just bring it all over and we'll make it fit. But that's like taking a gas thing to fill up your car and watching the gas come out all over onto the gas station concrete and expecting to use that gas. Like it's not going to work. So I remember putting up a Christmas tree one year and I had all of this decor and I was trying to fit everything in at this new house. And I fell to my knees and I cried. And I'm like, what do you got for me next? Like, this isn't going well and this isn't fabulous. And I am stressed. And I realized I can't manage all this stuff. I got to let stuff go. And so I just started letting stuff go that I didn't need and asking those questions and having things earn the right to be in my life, like the people that I had chosen or not chosen to be in my life. I wanted the things to have me decide if they'd earned their right to be in my house and in my life. And, people think, oh, you must be so organized and your house must be amazing. And at times it is, but I look around and there's stuff I have to deal with. Stuff is always coming in. So if you don't train your brain to think this way, you're doing yourself such a disservice because then it's like Groundhog Day every day. Stuff is always coming in, whether it's the kids bringing it in or you bringing it in. I'm not saying let's not ever buy anything, but let's manage it so that we are knowing that if something comes in, something has to go out.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's where it came from, is survival, really, right? So I'm so passionate to try to, you can't make somebody change, you can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. So I at least want to lead them to water and then hope that the switch goes off. And I've had thousands of DMs from people saying, I've used your room refresh, I've used your guides, and through working through them, now I get it. And now I can do the next room and I can keep my head above water. It's not to say it's like a once and done, but
Yeah.
at least you know the right questions to ask.
We've talked about stress, we've talked about the mental burden of things and managing things, but just to really connect it in for our community. So at Movement Living, we have 3 pillars. These are
Mhm.
our wellness pillars. This is like how we empower women to live well and age better. And it's through movement, which includes rest and sleep because we feel like they're partners, food and nutrition, what you're feeding your body. And then there's this third pillar, connection. And connection is like our relationship to ourselves, our mental health, our relationships to others. And when I think about this aspect of connection, I think our home, our space that we live in. And I don't think it's common for people to think about their home and their space as a key element of wellness, which is why we're so excited to talk to you today.
Like it's
Yeah,
scientifically proven. And how funny is that? Like that's where we spend, if you did time management and did an audit, that's where you spend all your time. It's hard these days, right? I got to remember to drink water. I got to remember to exercise, get my steps in, roll my back on my ball. I got to eat, there's a lot, right? But I do say that if you can get your house under control, everything else just kind of starts to fall into place, those habits and everything else, right? Because if you're stressed, it's likely because you're visually stressed at your home. We know that women's cortisol goes up because it's directly related to how much stuff you see in your house. It's a fact. So, not for men, but for women. So, if our cortisol is up, we don't even know what day it is. Like, we don't know our name. We don't remember what grade our kids are in. We forget to give them lunch money. Like you lose all control. So, if you can pull it back and get your house in control a bit, and I'm not saying perfect, but just get in place a bit and stop being your worst enemy, because you're going to be your worst enemy in this fight. I'm telling you right now, you're going to come up with all of these ideas and excuses to not let go. So if you can get out of your own way, like you'll just be flying.
tell me more what you mean about letting go. Like, give some examples, or like, how could we get out of our own way?
What you're fighting at the most is going to keep showing up, right? Whether it's the universe or the God you believe in or whatever, you're going to keep getting this presented to you. So I feel that it's just that mind shift. And because we were physiologically trained, physiologically born to be hunters and gatherers, it's like we want to pick up something off the side of the road because way back when that might help us survive and live longer in the tribe more than 25 years old. So we're hunters and gatherers. Plus, then, like I said, our parents trained us that it's a good thing to hang on to everything just in case, because that's the generation they lived in. You didn't have the ability to have toilet paper delivered to your door on Amazon in a cycle when you actually need it. Like, why would you go to the store and buy that big bulky thing of toilet paper when you set up a click that it comes every 4 months, right? So we didn't have those things, and we didn't live in a depression, and we didn't necessarily immigrate for another country. And so our parents trained us to hang on to everything just in case. So the next generations will be interesting because I think we're training them a different way. But because those are so innate, our inner voice of just in case, my grandma gave that to me. I paid good money. Don't be a fool. You bought that designer dress and you want to look a certain way with the designer label. You can't get rid of it. It cost $1,000. The grief, like there's 7 good reasons I think we hang on to things because I've heard them so many times with clients, and I can give you a defense against every single one of those. And that's what we have in Room Refresh is like examples of the types of stories you're going to tell yourself when you're trying to throw out that green mascara from Halloween 8 years ago, the excuses you're going to tell yourself, and then how to defend against those. And once you hear it, it actually sounds so silly. Once you hear the excuse you're going to say, and then the argument that I might give you, that I tell my clients or that I put in Room Refresh, because once you read through them a couple times, you'll be able to parlay that to something else in your house because you'll hear yourself saying the same excuse.
Mm.
It applies to everything in your house, whether it's an old appliance or a pair of skis or a photo of somebody you don't even know who it is, or a card from your wedding and you don't even like that person, right? You can shift the way you ask yourself the questions to take yourself out of that enemy to yourself when you're ultimately trying to get rid of things. That's what I mean about getting out of your own way.
I know I've learned how to pick off the low-hanging fruit, like certain things that I really know are not going to ever be useful. But for me, it's prioritizing. Um, just generally the subject of prioritizing, do you have a method or technique that you use to help people prioritize what they need to do next?
One of the hardest things is where to start, how to start.
Mhm.
Again, that's why I have this Room Refresh program, because it's a monthly bite-sized thing that you can do. And you're not going to undo the whole house on a weekend. So be prepared. It's going to take some time, but these are bite-sized things you can do every month that aren't going to overwhelm you. I'm there to guide you. And you just peg off what is in the printable that you get every month. And slowly you practice, you're forging new neural pathways,
Yeah.
and you are making progress in your house. And so your dopamine's going to reward you, because you're going to be like, yeah, I got rid of that. I can do it again. And then you move to the next room the next month. So there is low-hanging fruit. It takes practice, it takes training. You're forging new neural pathways. Don't start in your garage and don't start in your storage room, because those are the things that went there because you didn't want to make a decision. But clutter things are really just unmade decisions. And if you really, the problem is that you've psyched yourself up that it's going to take hours and hours to do it, because you've looked at it every day and psychologically you've made it to be your enemy when it really isn't. Because we know this, when we go into people's houses and tackle a corner that's been there for 8 years, we can get it done in 10 minutes, because we're there to help with the right questions. And what we're doing is forcing you to make a decision, and we're giving you permission to let go, right? It's all about just getting permission. Sometimes you just need to tell the story and then they're like, yeah, that can go. I didn't need that. That's hilarious that I thought I needed that. So you build momentum. It's all about permission. It's all about reframing it. And again, it's all about how much really do you want this to happen? Because it isn't about time. We've proven that time and time again. It's not really about time. But if you want to tackle that corner that's been sitting there forever, the reason why you didn't tackle it is because you didn't want to make the decision, and you didn't know what decision to make. But when you see something for years piled up in a corner, time becomes the enemy. Gabriela, it's interesting. There's a neurological thing called duration path outcome, and it's what your brain does when you stay awake at night. So your brain thinks about a problem and it asks, and it does this with clutter, whether you like it or not, whether you think that pile is not bugging you, your brain subconsciously works on it while you're sleeping. It's wondering duration path outcome. How long is that going to sit there? How am I going to move it? How am I going to deal with it? And what's it going to look like when it's done? And that's insomnia. So I just want people to deal with a more important duration path outcome. How am I going to beat this cancer? What am I going to, how am I going to get a new job? Let's work on more important duration path outcomes. If you're going to stay awake, then what do I do with that pile of pots that's sitting there forever that I know I don't use, but I don't have the guts to get rid of it, right? Really? So you have to give yourself grace because you've never practiced it, but that duration path outcome, I want it to be spent on something more important than pile of bills that we could burn in 2 seconds and you'll never need them.
Just one little comment. I love books, sites, everything about clutter and how to declutter and everything. But I realized one day that it was part of my procrastination path, which is like, I think I'll read that book again about how to clear your clutter.
You know what that is?
What?
I'm organized today. I'm going to get in my car and go to IKEA and go buy some shelves. And then you come back with the shelves and you're like, oh, interesting. Clutter's still here.
Yeah.
Because you haven't made a decision. So you're procrastinating and organizing things to organize. But what I learned, it took me about 5 years to understand this as an organizer. There's a big difference between organizing and decluttering. And to me, how I frame it up with my clients is that decluttering is your learner's license. Driving is organizing. You cannot organize, you cannot drive until you've learned. So you can't organize until you've decluttered. But we don't know that. So we go out and buy pretty things to organize with, when the real thing we should be doing is asking ourselves, do I love it? Do I use it? Would I buy it again today? Right? But without the it's like me expecting to know how to paint my house when I've never painted, right? Like you don't really know what to use. So the first thing you do is you go to the store and ask some questions. But unfortunately, the person at IKEA doesn't know how to answer the questions about decluttering. They're there to sell you things. So you come home with all that stuff and then you've got a bigger mess and then you feel crappy about yourself and you're like, and you've wasted hours. And now you
I
have to
love,
get stuff from IKEA. So
yeah, no,
I see
sorry.
it all the time, but it's unmade decisions. Clutter is everything that's come into your house that you haven't really thought about and made that decision about. They're unmade decisions.
Which is, it's really interesting. And I'm sorry, I'm going to go here, Gab, but Gab, you hate making decisions.
But wait a sec, okay? Just one little, here, I'm going to say this. In my profession, which is production, media production, we have this saying, which is, don't make a decision till you have to. But then sometimes but make a decision even if you don't know the answer because the
Yeah.
crew is waiting. So there's these conflicting ideas about decision making. But you're right. I love what you just said. Clutter is unmade decisions. Absolutely, that is fantastic. I mean, that's just a fantastic thought because it's
So
true.
yeah, you just have to dig deep. Like, does
Yeah,
it
dig
really
deep.
matter? But it does matter because
That's,
clutter is scientifically proven to ruin your physical health, your mental health, your relationships, steal your space, steal your energy, steal your time, and dig you into a hole then that you're depressed and you can't get out of. Right. So it's not going to happen overnight. Give yourself grace. It didn't happen in a day, so it's not going to unhappen in a day, but you got to get out of your own way and decide it's important to you and to your family and to your marriage and to yourself. Because I don't care how much you paid for that wedding dress. If it's sitting in a closet in a special box and you're never going to use it, I don't care if it was $10,000. It's just not worth the fact that you're beating yourself up every time you go downstairs and you're like, why do I have that wedding dress? Right?
yeah, no, it's very.
And we all throw clothes on the floor every once in a while because you're busy. But maybe then a system should work where you have a diaper box or a nice bin or whatever it is on the floor that says, don't have time to put it away right now. Not to make excuses for yourself, but set up a system that works for you so that then you can manage it later.
Yeah.
Don't put it off too long either, right? Like it's a trade-off. You can't just shove it all in a box and hope that it's going to go away. But usually the problem is you just have too much stuff. It's not that you're disorganized. It's not that you're not messy. You're not disorganized. You just have way too much stuff.
For someone in our community who would be maybe in their 50s or 60s or 70s and have had this mindset of, what if I need this, but I paid good money for it? Like all of those stories. And I love how, there's these common stories that we all tell ourselves that you address. Like, but they're starting to understand, because I think that's part of it is like I said, we don't connect our mental health, our physical health to clutter. Like most people haven't thought about that necessarily. But for someone who's like a light bulb is going off right now, what would you say is an encouragement that to get them to not just walk away from this conversation with, oh, that's interesting, but like, oh, I can implement this, or I can make a change and it will actually help me in my wellness.
Give yourself grace. No one's taught you this. You're working against Mother Nature. Progress over perfection. Start small, but start. Start on a junk drawer, just the drawer. Dump it out. Make piles of similar things. Look at how much you have of one thing and say, if one pen can write 150 pages, do I need 165 pens? Right? Ask yourself the hard question. Do I use all these pens? Will I use all these pens? Would I go out to the store and spend $150 on 150 pens right now? And you don't have to answer, and do I love these pens, right? And the answer might not be, you might have one no and two yeses, or you might have one yes and two no's. But usually if it isn't a hell yes, it's a hell no. So then get out of your own way and say, be brave. I'm going to change someone's life and go and drop these off at an art school, or, and don't make it too complicated. That's a big one too, because some people are to get it perfect.
Yeah.
Take them to a donation center, drop them off at a school in a box on the front door, and hopefully they'll use them. Well, that's not fair. Don't dump your garbage on other people, but I'm exaggerating to make a point. Don't overthink it. Usually it's just take it to a donation center, but get it out the door, and then you've had a win. And I don't care if you just do pens that day, but you've made some progress and you've made a decision and you felt good and you dropped it off and you changed someone's life who doesn't have a pen, and you've changed your life slowly, but you've started. Give yourself a high five, have a glass of wine, and go to bed. If you want to keep going, but start, get out of your own way, and don't set yourself up for failure. Do not go and try to start the storage room, because you're going to be frustrated unless you have help and my guide and a lot of time, right? Just do some small wins, but don't get out of your own way. When you hear that inner voice, ask yourself, do I really love this? Do I really need this? Would I really go and buy this today? And donate it and change someone's life. Be a philanthropist, and you'll feel good. You'll get a dopamine hit from letting things go instead of hanging on after a while.
I think that's a good point you brought up. There's guilt involved with, how am I going to make this item continue to be useful without throwing it away? And I think that's always difficult as well. So if you know or have an organizing person that helps you do this, figure out where this thing should go that won't be in the landfill. That helps me a lot. Because I have a lot of
it's usually a donation center. That's why they're set up. And I've had clients who are like, but I want this bike to go to the perfect boy who's got brown hair and blue eyes and just got, just got out of a cast and he's just riding his bike for and I'm like, just go donate it. Like, that's another excuse, right? Like, no, just go be a philanthropist and donate it. Like, it'll find its way to the right person. Trust the universe. It will. Visualize that boy then picking it up at Goodwill that day with his mom, whatever you need to do, but just drop it off, because that's another excuse that you want to get the perfect person. Perfectionism is one of the excuses, is I'm so scared to get it wrong that it's better to make no decision than to make the wrong decision. Right? And that's another excuse. So get out of your own way with that perfectionist thought and just get it out the door, because it's an excuse, and it's a speed bump that you've never had to really address before, because you've always had that as your safety net. So you never got past that speed bump because you always just told yourself the same story. But telling yourself the same story over and over again is insanity. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, but I told myself when I started this page, I'm not starting it as an organizer. I'm starting it as somebody who's fascinated about the psychology behind everything. I have chats with my team all the time of, let's analyze and let's make a reel about that person. And it's actually on our list of things to do, who only wants the thing to get to the right person. So, oh no, I cannot get rid of this jacket because Kathy, who lives in Singapore, would love this jacket, right? So when are you seeing Kathy next? And you may be able to do that later on, but for now, you need to get Kathy out of your mind and you need to just donate it, because it's not going to get to her. And you're creating more work for yourself. Same with selling everything, right? Then you have to deal with multiple buyers and people arguing, and then people saying, I don't want to pay $20, I want it for $1. And you've created a full-time job in trying to sell the thing, which again is like a distraction of not letting it go. Because then in the end, it doesn't go, and then you've kept it. But then you feel terrible about yourself, right? Then you're like, oh man, I'm such a failure. And this self-talk, right? So
very good.
It's fun, but we want to make a reel about that, because that's a true one, is I don't want to get rid of it. I want it to go to the perfect person. It's psychology.
And I feel like the more something has emotional attachment to you, the more you want it to go.
And the longer you keep it, guess what? The more emotional attachment you get. You may not, I mean, there's another story, right? I did a reel. It's one of my most popular reels of a garage door opening, and it says how you can unintentionally make your kids' lives harder. And then it shows all this stuff in the garage. So it's like, make those decisions, because there's a ton of people, and I've seen it tragically, and I've seen it, and it's heart-wrenching, where something happens to the parents and the kids have to deal with all this stuff, and it can literally financially ruin them and ruin their lives. So then all of a sudden, everything becomes important because you're dealing with grief. And some people get after me and they say, oh, I loved going through my mom's stuff. There are exceptions to everything, but I can tell you 90% of people who have to do that, it's like, it can ruin the back end of their lives.
Mm,
Right? I'm sure a lot of your people are going through that right now, helping their parents deal with it. And their parents are stubbornly not wanting to get rid of everything. And there isn't always a solution,
mm,
because sometimes it's too late. Like, those parents were born in the 40s and the 50s, and they will never let go of this stuff. And then you just have to gracefully deal with it after they're gone in a dumpster, or donate what you can. But I say to people, try to go through your things now, write on the back of art, leave notes for people, but get rid of the stuff that doesn't mean anything to you, because all of a sudden your collection of corks will become important once you're gone. Right?
yeah.
Those are mom's corks. She loved those corks. But if mom were here to tell you, she'd be like, I hated those corks. Actually, every time I saw that stupid cork collection in a vase, I wanted to get rid of it.
I love it.
Right? So make the decisions easier for them by getting rid of some of that stuff. But then guess what? You have to do the work. You can't just deny doing the work and then expect your kids to do it when you pass away. That's not fair. Just because you want to make a decision, that's not fair.
No, it's not. That's funny. That's a funny story. I love it because stuff is so interesting. Everything has a story.
Yeah, but sometimes you just need to get that story out. So I don't care.
Yeah.
I bought a book. Actually, I'm going to show you.
Okay.
I should write this book, but it's an interesting book. Mom, I want to hear your story, right? So start a journal and write down about these things. Take a picture, start a scrapbook, take a picture and say, this candle was your Aunt Edna's, and she had it by her bed, and my mom gave it to her mom, and she gave it to her mom and passed it, however it works. I'm doing it backwards, but this thing was passed down for 150 generations. It's a candle. It doesn't work anymore. There's no wax in it. Well, been around that long ago, but it's kind of funny when you break it down, but you keep it because you think, and that's another story. You think that you're shaming your family or you're not a good child if it ends with you, right? But it's like that Blake Lively movie, It Ends With Us, or whatever it is. It has to end at some point. So be brave to end it and don't make any excuses about it. Write it down, take a picture of it, and then the story will exist in a way that you're not burdening your kids with all of the stuff. They have a beautiful story, right? Take pictures of things. You're going to look at your phone pictures way more than you're going to open a box in the basement under 10 boxes to look at a school yearbook, right? So take pictures of things. But the stories we tell ourselves about why we need to keep things and why they're important, they're quite hilarious. But guess what? I do it too. So you kind of have to laugh it off. Have your cheat sheet, right? Have your guide, have your room refresh right close, and be prepared, because you're going to start to tell yourself those stories.
I love how you have a balance of, I would say, tough love, but also this grace.
Yeah.
Like, give
Well,
yourself
because
grace.
I
And it's
do
like
it.
the
Yeah.
facts, the psychology,
Yeah.
you have to do it. This is for your health, but also like you have to give yourself grace. Nobody's
Do.
perfect.
They're not. Like, come to my house on any given day. And I tell my clients that, like, they're like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, let's go to my house. Like, it's not perfect. I
Yeah.
work out all the time, but I don't get mad. It's almost like taking a shower. You got to shower every couple of days. You don't like get mad every time you have to shower and say, oh man, I have to shower. So same thing with clutter. Like, you can't get so mad at it because it's going to show up. You just have to deal with it and then move on, right?
This is somewhat unrelated, but I know we were talking about parents, and are you quite close with your parents?
Really close. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen just some stories of them, and it seems like they really defy stereotypes about aging. Like they just seem so
Oh gosh.
vibrant.
Yeah.
I'd love to, I don't know, I'd love to just hear you talk a little bit about that and how that's impacted your life.
My dad and my stepfather were friends. Actually, when my father was passing away, he wanted my stepfather to be there to thank him for raising us. Like, they're amazing people. And when we get together for Christmas, it's not 10 of us, there's like 100 of us, and they're people who have been divorced and left and come back and all sorts of things. But I talk about my stepdad a lot, but I think my mom really is where I learned a lot, and some of the most valuable things from, of just being a Renaissance woman. And I consider her Google. Before ChatGPT came along, I'd ask her everything because she always has good answers about everything, and they're efficient and logical, and they have a lot of fun together. They live life to the fullest, and they've taught me that a lot of it is mental, a lot of it is psychological, and you got to get out of your own way, whether you're trying to work out and get back from a back injury or whatever. It is a mental game, and I'm super grateful for them, obviously. But yeah, 85 and 82, I think they're at, and we got to stop him from climbing trees with a chainsaw in one hand, because that's what he's doing.
Can you just explain the significance of the page 57?
Oh, yeah,
I'm so
awesome.
curious
You
about
are like
that.
the best person ever that's interviewed me. So my dad, my stepdad, his family didn't say I love you very much growing up. So he feels he didn't tell us often enough. And it was hard for him, just like it's hard to let go, because no one taught you, no one trained you. The parallel is there for sure. And so in a book called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, page 57 says, never miss a chance to tell somebody you love them. So often, instead of saying, I love you to us, he just puts P57. And so a lot of the people in my family have had tattoos that say P57. He just got one at 84 on his stomach that says P57. He says he wants to get another one because he's sick of lifting his shirt up to show everybody his tattoos. So he's going to get it on his wrist. I'm going to get a little necklace made because I don't love tattoos. But I do love that of never miss a chance to tell somebody you love them and be honest. And I think that's what they have always done with me. And, accept people how they are, but accept you how you are too, right? So show yourself some grace, because you're going to have crappy days, right? And you're going to have great days, but they're not there to insult you. They're just there to show up so that you can have the capacity to move through them and get through to the next day.
Amazing. I love that. Yeah, I was really struck by that, and I just think that's so cool.
We're humans. Again, I told you, we were raised by our parents and we were born biologically to want to hang on. So I can't imagine many people not struggling with this. But
Yeah.
when you get to the other side, it's pretty cool. But just dip your toes in and see what it feels like. It's almost like the cold plunge, right? You fight it and then you do it and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm addicted to this, right?
Yeah. I'm inspired. I'm currently in a 1,000 square foot condo with 2 kids under 4, and I am like, there's so much stuff everywhere. So I'm
Yeah.
inspired.
Start with a couple things and then just be brave, but get them out that day.
Yeah.
Or, I do, like you said, I always give people grace. So if you do want to start a bin downstairs when you're just too scared, start a bin and then don't donate it right away, but you'll see that you won't go and pull it out. But all you'll do is make your pot and pan drawer or your Tupperware drawer a heck of a lot easier for the next year,
Yeah.
instead of opening it every time and torturing yourself of like, oh man, why did I ever buy that pot? Right? Just go hide it, get rid of it.
It's funny, I struggle with the toys because my daughter, who's almost 4, has like a prodigy memory. Like I'll get rid of toys constantly, or try to, and she will literally be sitting on the couch one day and she'll say, Mama, where is my pink fluffy kitty from Tata? And it's like something that her grandmother had bought her literally when she was less like a year old. And like, I don't even know how she remembers this stuff. And then she'll be, you know, she'll get upset when I don't have it and I don't know what to do. It's like she's already
Yeah.
like
Hanging on
got,
to things. So
yeah.
I think that's an awesome time. I do a meditation. I'm getting back into it. I dropped it for a while. I'm totally getting back into it, called Yoga Nidra. And what Yoga Nidra is to like observe the sky, try to see the blueness and recognize that the clouds are just coming in and going. The birds are coming in and going. They're just using it as a container and they're just the contents, right? The lightning storms comes and it goes. But if the sky tried to hang on to everything, it would get overwhelmed. Like it couldn't hang on to everything all at once. So I would invent a little story for her to use that as the perfect time to teach her about how things come in and they go.
Mm-hmm.
You might not be able to find it right now. You might find it later, but we need to let go of that emotion. We need to recognize, like, I'm frustrated, I can't find it, but we need to see that emotion, that frustration, that thing, that everything has a bit of a life cycle and that we can't hold on to everything. We don't have the capacity to do that. So I think that's kind of a cool example of when you can talk to her about training her about loss. Because
Yeah.
sometimes things are gonna, you know, people will steal from her and she will never get it back. But that's kind of a cool time to start talking about. Of course, if you ask her the three questions, did you love it? Did you use it? Would you go and buy it? She's going to say yes to everything. But at
Yeah.
least you've introduced those questions. Whereas your parents or your parents' parents would have said, yeah, we paid a lot for that thing. Let's go find it, right? Like they would have gone back to the 7 reasons to
For
train your
sure.
brain to hang on to things. But if you hit those three things of, did you really love it? Even if she says, yeah, mama, I loved it. Did you use it? Yeah, I used it every day. Would we go buy it at the store? Would you use your own allowance? Yeah, I would. But at least then she knows those three questions so that she can use those in her future to ask herself rather than the excuses we hang on to.
The idea of things passing through, that's really cool. And I
Man,
feel like,
yoga nidra is mind blowing about really what it's about, but it's about letting go of emotion. It's the same
mhm,
stuff, right? Letting go of a boyfriend, letting go of your stuff, letting go of emotions. It's letting go of food, letting go of criticism. It's kind of all the same.
Did you say yoga?
Yoga
Something?
nidra, which
Yoga.
means sleep union. Like it's a meditation where you just lie and listen to a recorded thing and lie on your couch and get super comfortable and let whatever happen happen. But you dig up, I think the equivalent of a 45-minute deep sleep. 3 hours of deep sleep is equivalent to a 45-minute nidra or 30-minute nidra.
very cool.
I love that you love neuroscience. I'm
Yeah.
passionate about that too.
Yeah, so I didn't want to start an organizing website. I'm like, I want to make it what it's really about, which is psychology. Because you're dead in the water if you can't organize until you've decluttered, right? You can't
And it,
move on from a bad relationship or a bad marriage until you've let go. Like it's hilarious, isn't it? How we get tested of these same philosophies over and over again. And mine's just one of the same of the many. Um, that's it's fun to tap into because we all have stuff, right?
You've said a few real succinct, wonderful little
You guys are
nuggets.
awesome. I
Yeah,
feel
we
like I
love
could go
that.
do anything after talking to you guys. Great questions. I love your
same, same. I'm like gonna get off this call. I'm gonna
questions.
do only the pens today, though. I heard you.
And,
I'm not gonna do my whole house. I'm just doing the pens.
and you know what? If it doesn't happen today, it's in your mind now and
Yeah,
it will happen. Give yourself grace, but try to start small. Start with
yeah.
something that isn't like your wardrobe or your pictures or something.
Okay, I want to end with our rapid fire question. So just
I have test anxiety, so I hope I can answer.
I
It's when
know.
there's no right answer.
I can help
It's
you
all
with
about
that.
you.
Yeah, I was the kid in the class who'd be just starting the first question and people were leaving. I'd be
Oh
like,
no.
I didn't even know what was going on, but I'd be like, I haven't even answered a question.
Oh.
Oh, well, these hopefully won't feel like a test.
Okay. Okay.
Um, what is a daily habit that you swear by to feel your best?
as much as I can. I would say starting with, I feel like the morning starts the night before, right? Like I think it's an German thing actually, that sleep is so important that your day actually starts the night before. So I would say just spending 6 minutes, 7 minutes, making my island clean so that the next morning I'm set up for success. As much
I
as I
love
can. Not perfect. Set a timer. 6 minutes, you'll get a lot done in 6 minutes. Put on your favorite song. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
take as long as you think it does.
amazing. What is your favorite way to treat yourself?
Doing nidras, 100%. I'm so wanting to get back to them. I crave them, right? You drop down and like you're resting on the bottom of the ocean, and then an intention is planted, and then you come back up and you feel amazing, right? Because the intention is planted when your mind is out of the way that it can't interfere,
Mm,
right? Because you
Yeah.
are not asleep, but you're not awake. You're vulnerable and you're open. And so an intention's planted and you come back up and it's there. It's so cool.
what is a health concern that you worry about?
I think honestly, the constant ADHD brain, I
Mm,
don't worry because it just preoccupies me. Sometimes I have to jump out of bed because it's like it'll start. I'm like, I'm not ready for it to start, but it starts. So keeping my brain busy at not being busy. But again, I did it this morning. I'm like, I've got a busy brain, so I'm just going to go back to yoga nidra and give myself a body scan. And before I knew it, I was back asleep or calm. So, yeah, the busy brain thing's a big deal. That's
yeah.
constant.
What's something that you're learning right now?
I think just always science, right? Like I've got so many
Mm,
audiobooks I want to listen to. Um, there's so many just cool concepts that I can try to incorporate without too much pressure. Um, but I just think learning is so much fun.
And finally, in a few words or many words, what does wellness mean to you?
I would say just having an emotional connection between your physical world and your mental world. Um, I would say just balancing it. Wellness to me is feeling tethered uh, to an emotionally stable place.
I really like that word tethered.
I, I love that whole concept, and it just shows how extraordinary you are as a person and also what you've done and accomplished. I think we need a whole nother conversation, but
Good.
that's
Well, if you want a piece of me, I'm on Instagram every day.
oh
I've
yeah, I
kind of
know that.
devoted my life to that.
Yeah.
Go Simplified is Instagram. And although I have big ideas for all these other channels, there's just not enough time. So that's the free way to get everything I talk about is there. But if you feel you're a person like I am, I like a physical thing, right? So I'm always the one to buy the guide if I'm into somebody where I can do it on my own time and find it when I want to find it. So I have guides for every room that are on my website. So if you wanted to go after one room, it's on my website. You can do it. It's broken down, and a ton of it is the psychology, right? It's
Yeah.
not just about the steps, because I'd be doing you a disservice if I just said, here's how you do it. You'd be like, thanks a lot. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
how to do it. Thank you. What about the beginning part? So my guides are there. And the biggest thing that I'm most proud about is Room Refresh, which I just started in January. It's a rolling 12-month forward program that's printables. So you can join in March and then you go till March the next year. And every month you get a printable that goes through a room that we're all working on. And there's a community that supports it too, that's free behind the scenes that you can belong to see what other people are doing. And it's just a printable that you can follow to keep you on track and to help you start. But the psychology is in there. The steps are
Mm.
in there, but the psychology of how you might get tripped up in that room are right in there.
And is that where you would recommend people start
I
with
would
root
for sure.
refresh?
Yeah. And I had to charge something, right? It is a business. And I spend a ton of time, with my team writing this, and we still do. We re-edit it and re-edit it. And, like we go over and over again. So I had to charge something, so I wanted to make it affordable. So it's the price of 2 coffees a month, you know? So again, like maybe you have to sacrifice a coffee, maybe you don't even have to, but you should be able to find the 2 coffees a month to give back to yourself, to get yourself ahead. That's how I look at it. If you're not ready, you're not ready, and that's fine too. You just want to look at Instagram and look at the reels and look at my stories. But I hope that I can inspire and move the dial forward. And if you're not ready now, you might be ready next year, but I'll be here.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Megan. It was honestly such a delight to talk to you. I feel like I have so many more questions, but I'm excited to check out the guides and maybe see if I can grab my husband on board for
Yeah.
a year of decluttering, or maybe we'll pick a room, and we're actually moving soon. So maybe it'll all tie in together.
Yeah, good luck. And you know, a husband or a partner is another excuse too sometimes, right? They're like, but my husband's not on board, my partner's not on board. But then you got to start with yourself, and
Yeah.
they'll be like, wow, I've really seen some changes. You might not ever be able to get them on board, but that doesn't mean you can't start.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
sometimes you just start with you. If it's a great relationship, they'll help,
Yeah.
they'll be on board. But if it isn't, then you just got to start with you.
Great advice.
Thank you guys so much. That was really fun. This
Thank
is,
you
I
so
think,
much.
one of the most fun podcasts I've done. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Meg.
you so much, Megan. Take care.